Namaste, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well, in good health, and high spirits. So, for the ones who are meeting me for the first time, I am Vasundhara Purushottam, the yoga instructor at RRI. And it's been an absolute honor to start this teaching journey with RRI students. And it's been over 2 months that I'm here, and I'm absolutely humbled by the keen interest of the students who make it to the practice in the mornings as early as 6 in the morning, in spite of having very hectic schedules. So I would like to extend my gratitude to the institution as well as my students who are a part of this yoga journey to help benefit their own lives and society as a whole, right? So in the lieu of the upcoming International Yoga Day, it's been an absolute honor to be here today and spread the knowledge about the sacred practice called yoga. And once again, I thank RRI for giving us this opportunity. And I would like to welcome my teacher, my mentor, whom I adore and look up to for anything yoga, right? So she is Miss Binsi Subhash, and she has been teaching yoga for over a decade and practicing yoga herself for more than 2 decades. And she comes with wealth of expertise in the field of yoga. So I would like to call her upon the dais. And Ms. Binsi, over to you.
Thank you, Vasundhara. I hope all of you can hear me. Okay, so as she said, over a decade, and I'm still a struggling practitioner. Okay, I'm really struggle each and every day to put in my practice whatever the path of yoga. So we will look into that today. So before that, I thank Vasundhara and the entire institute to give a opportunity to give a talk here. And I'm so happy to see you all with great interest to know what is yoga and the journey of yoga. And I'm going to talk today about the relevance of yoga in the modern day. So focusing on the philosophical aspect and how you can incorporate the philosophical path of yoga in your day-to-day life. So let's begin. What is yoga? Can anyone say, according to your understanding, what do you think? What is yoga? Anybody? All of you are quiet. Somebody, anything. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Just anything. Yeah. Exercise. Okay. Anyone else?
Yoga comes from the word yog. To means to join.
Okay.
To contemplate the things which happen to be in yoga.
Okay, very good. So according to him, it is yoga means union. That's what you said. Okay. Anyone else? Any other answer? One said exercise and the other answer was union. Okay. So yes, it's a common knowledge and very common knowledge that yoga means union. But the word yoga comes or derived from a Sanskrit root word called yujir, or that which simply means to yoke or to unite. Union of what? That's the next question, no? What we are going to unite here? What union? So we know there are several yoga systems. So based on that, they have different interpretations on yoga or union. So if you take up Hatha Yoga says is the union of Shiva and Shakti. Whereas if you look at Bhakti Yoga, it says the union of individual soul with the universal soul, or you can say it's the union between the Atma, individual soul, and as well as the Paramatma. So each system also describes the means to achieve, not only just explaining, okay, this is the union, they also describe the different means to achieve this union. But there is another yoga called Patanjali's yoga. According to Patanjali's yoga, yoga means samadhi. If you have heard or read anywhere, yoga means samadhi. This word samadhi is mentioned in a philosophical yoga text called Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra, which is it means a philosophy test for a yoga student. It's like a Bible or any Bhagavad Gita kind of a scripture. Okay, so the word yoga here is derived from another Sanskrit word, which is known as yuj or yuja, means samadhi or samadhana, which simply translate absolute peace. Samadhi means absolute peace. So we can see two different meanings. One says union, whereas the other word of yoga means samadhi or absolute peace. So let's understand what is this samadhi or absolute peace. It's nothing but a mental state which arises when the mind is one-pointed. The absolute peace or the samadhi is the state which arises when the mind becomes one-pointed. So before getting into that samadhi, let's understand the philosophy text, the yoga philosophy text called Yoga Sutra. So whatever it explains in the philosophy text, it really applies to this modern world and the present generation. And it explains how one can achieve the state of absolute peace in a very practical way, which we can apply it just not on the mat, even off the mat. Not just exercise, outside the mat too. That's the wonderful part of it. So let me give a small introduction about this Yoga Sutra text itself. It's an ancient Indian yogic scripture written by sage Patanjali. So that's why it's called Patanjali Yoga, because it's written by sage Patanjali, and he has put in a very systematic way, which is very relevant and very approachable too for the modern day. So there are 4 chapters in this text, and 196 verses explains mainly how to explore our inner world, and methods also. He gives the methods to make the mind one-pointed. So other than that, the best part of this scripture is that it is universal. There is no caste, gender, or country matters. Anyone can follow this path anywhere. That's the best part of this our Indian scripture called Yoga Sutra, yogic philosophy text. So in this text, there is a definition on yoga. It defines yoga as chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta simply means mind, chitta. Vritti means activity, vritta or vritti, So that is activity. So we can say chitta vritti is nothing but the activity of the mind. But the definition is chitta vritti nirodha. Nirodha means stopping or blocking. So here the text defines yoga as stopping all the mental activities or blocking all the mental activities. So here yoga defines as chitta vritti nirodha, which simply means stopping or blocking all the mental activities. This is a state in which all the mental activities are stopped, which is nothing but a state of absolute peace. There is no chattering in the mind. Otherwise the mind keeps telling something or the other, correct? So then after that, it's not only he defines what it is, he explains the means also to achieve this. He gives the means. He says that one can achieve this state of absolute peace through practice and detachment. Practice and detachment. Now, according to him, practice means what? We say practice. Okay, once in a while practice. Will that be a practice? Okay, yesterday I did, or maybe after 2 months I will start. Okay, this week, maybe 2 days in a week I did my practice. After that you miss out. Correct? That's not a practice, not once in a while. Here he says constant practice for a long time without interruption and with faith. It's very important you should have faith in your practice and there is consistency in your practice. Not once in a while whenever you are free or I slept off today, I forgot, put the alarm. So these are general reasons which come up. The practice is everyday practice, not once in a while. So what kind of practice? That's the other question comes. He said practice. Now what kind of practice? Is it just an exercise practice? So that we will see. So he gives a method of practice called Ashtanga Yoga, also known as Raja Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga or Raja Yoga. It's a very step-by-step method, where one can achieve this absolute peace. So what is this Ashtanga Yoga? Ashta means 8. Number 8. Ashta. Anga means limbs or stages. So we can say Ashtanga Yoga is the 8 limbs of yoga or the 8 stages of yoga. Not one. There are 8 stages which you need to practice to achieve this absolute peace. So now let's look at what are these 8 stages. Correct? So first one is Yama. I have tried my level best to put the English translation, but in these certain words there are no translation, just the Sanskrit word, okay, but I'll explain it. So the first anga or the first stage of yoga is Yama. What is this Yama? These are social restraints or moral codes which helps one to live in harmony with the society, the outside world. And there are 5 yamas. The first one is non-violence, second is truthfulness, third non-stealing, fourth celibacy, fifth one non-hoarding. So these are the 5. Now let's look at it, how we can apply these things in our practice. Non-violence and truthfulness, nothing but ahimsa and satya. How can we put it in practice? Simply through our words, through our actions, through our thoughts. It's a wonderful thing to apply in your practice the non-violence and truthfulness. The third one is non-stealing. What do people steal? Any idea? What do they steal? What do we steal? Things. Immediately we think about things. Do we steal anything else other than things in our life? How about time? How about space? Mental peace? Sometimes. Correct? These are, we don't realize. It's just because lack of awareness or just chalega attitude. These are the mentality people have. Because of that, they are not able to put in practice, not only just the things. So one can put in the practice of non-stealing, not only in material things, but also to give individual space, to give individual time, personal time, also mental peace to others, which helps for ourselves too, in fact. It comes back to us too. Then the celibacy. Here, in this context, the celibacy is all about conserving energy. That means using our energy wisely. Could be, how can we practice this in our day-to-day life? Prioritizing your things in life. What is important today, you do that. Okay, the other things you can do it later. But not just neglecting, but do it later. But prioritize things in life. Also, other than that, unnecessary discussion and conversations, which is not required. Maybe bullying or maybe bitching, unnecessary, or showing, okay, I know this. No need to. These are all simply you're wasting, your own energy. So just avoid that. That is what celibacy is talking about. Then, non-hoarding. Again, what do we hoard in life? Again, we will say things, assets, properties, whatever. We hoard things, material things. But other than that, what do we hoard? Our thoughts, expectations, or maybe not able to forgive people. These things we just accumulate. They have done this to me, I cannot forget. Or I want to do so many things in life, so much of expectation, so many thoughts, or worries about your kids or family members, or whatever it could be. So this can be avoid. What is necessary, you keep it. Otherwise, unnecessary things, we don't need to, hoard things. So these are the 5 yamas: non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy, and non-hoarding. Basically, it helps us to live in harmony with the society. The second anga is the niyama. Niyama is nothing but the observances or guidelines which helps to live in harmony with oneself, to ourselves. So these are certain guidelines, he is giving us. Again, niyamas are also 5, same as yamas. The first one is purity, second is contentment, third is austerity, fourth is self-evaluating, fifth is surrender to higher consciousness. So what is purity? How can we put in purity in the practice? Again, same as non-violence and truthfulness. Purity in our thoughts, purity in our actions, purity in our words we use. Very important part. Then contentment. How can we put in contentment? To accept the circumstances of the moment. It's like gratitude of what is present with us rather than, desire what is not there. This is the problem with many, oh, they have that, I also want that. Why? You have this is enough, So that is contentment. But I'm sure during the COVID period, that contentment many must have realized with the difficulties, where you must have realized that you're in one room or one house throughout the day and night. You didn't want to have many clothes or many, any external things. You were so sufficient with what you have. Then when you got to know there are people who are suffering so much with that situation, you were so gratitude with what you have at that moment. That's the time you realize. So instead of getting into that realization, maybe now itself you can apply and practice in your day-to-day life. Okay, that contentment, being happy with what you have instead of, desiring what not is present. Then the next is austerity. It's nothing but a self-discipline. It's always good to have a self-discipline in life. I'm sure you all. But when I look at the present young generation, it's really bad. They don't have any fixed time, whether to wake up or sleep, or work time. It's all different. Even if you tell them, especially the teenagers, kids, they just don't listen to you. It's very difficult to see the present generation, how it is. They are not realizing how important to have that self-discipline in life. So that is the third one. Next is self-evaluating. It's nothing but a self-study, evaluating oneself, ourselves. Most of the time we look at others, what they are doing. We are not looking at what we are doing. We should look at ourselves, what we are thinking, what kind of thoughts we have, what kind of actions we are doing, whether we are doing good or whether it is hurting others. Always we try to look at others and point others. So stop doing that. So self-evaluating is nothing but to look at ourselves. It's actually very important to understand ourselves so that one will be able to develop that awareness about yourself. We think we are so good. When you actually look at yourself, we realize that, oh my God, there are so much of negativeness in us. But it is not to become judgmental about ourselves or feel bad about it. It's just to understand and accept that fact, okay, I have this, no one is perfect, correct? I have this negative side of it, but how can I work towards it? That is the best part of it if you're aware. So self-evaluation is actually help to understand better to oneself, to create that awareness in yourself, which definitely help to improve yourself. Then the last one is surrender to higher consciousness. It's nothing but being humble. Whatever you achieve in life, just be humble. There is no ego there. That ego should move and set apart. The moment we feel pride, what happens? We will lose our inner journey. That's it. We will not move forward at all. So that whatever we are today, whatever we achieve in life, just be humble and thankful to the higher energy. That's it. If you believe in God, of course, thank God. Okay. So these are the 5 niyamas which basically help oneself or to live in harmony with ourselves. So if we look at the first 2 limbs of the yoga path, basically guide us on our social and personal ethics, the yamas and niyamas. Here if we look at it, our thoughts, our actions, decisions, interactions with others, our daily routines, our surroundings, everything can reflect the extent of our yoga practice, not just exercise. Correct? Now, the third anga, the third limb is the asana, exercise part. The asana part, the physical practice of it. It comes the third path of yoga or the third stage of yoga. Why it is so important? Why we need to move our body? Why is it so important? Healthy body is important, right? What happens when we fall sick? Our mind is dull. You can't think straight. The negative thoughts come. See, all the mental activities start chattering, So the moment we feel sick, the mind becomes dull. So it's so important to have a healthy body. So an unhealthy body creates mental disturbances. So it's good to have a healthy body. Healthy body is very important, not to live life even for your spiritual journey too. Healthy body is very, very important. So physical practices are meant to get that healthy body, to get a healthy mind. It's all about mind. Now next is the pranayama, the 4th stage. Prana. Prana means life force. When the prana leaves, what happens? What happens? We die. Correct? We die. The moment prana leaves, we die. So prana is nothing but the life force, and yama is control. Simply means control. So pranayama means it's the control of life force. There are different pranayama practices. All these pranas, there are different pranas also in our body which actually control all our body systems. So even with the pranayama practice, one can actually control the lifespan. That is also there. That is why yogis live for long, to do the practices and achieve those things. So there are different practices which help to control the life forces, or we use the breath to control it. We use the breath practices or breathing practices to control this life forces in our body, which basically responsible for all our body systems. Then 5th stage is Pratyahara. Pratyahara means control of senses and mind. What are we actually? What do you think? How are we? We humans are slaves to our senses completely. Correct? We are simply slaves to our senses. Sometimes our senses will lead, the mind will follow. Correct? Or I can give you a simple example. Maybe you smell some nice food. Your nose is like sensing it. Then the mind says, yeah, I want to eat. Then you follow. Similarly, sometimes the senses will lead when the mind will follow. Sometimes the mind will lead. Mind will say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I have to get it done this. Then you will start moving. Your senses will start move. So always, there will be either way. Sometimes the senses will lead, the mind follows, or sometimes the mind leads and the senses will follow. So the Pratyahara practice is always to control. Where to control? Sometimes the mind says or the senses tempt you, then you will have to ask, do I really need it? Do I have to do this? Ask yourself. Or can I do this later? Or do I have to do it now? Is it very important? Controlling that. It's very, very important. So there are many different practices in the yoga itself, Pratyahara practices. I don't know if, have you ever experienced Yoga Nidra practice? It's one of the Pratyahara practices, so which basically helps to control our senses and mind. It's not avoiding, we will use it, but in a right way. Using the senses and our minds in a right way. So once the senses or mind are controlled, then one can move towards the next stage of yoga. This is, from sixth stage onwards is little on the highest stage or the higher limb of yoga, which is called dharana. Dharana simply means concentration. Concentration on any object or anything or any thought. Could be anything, but concentrating on one thing. It is nothing but, we can say, the concentration is the ability of the mind to hold on to one object, correct? Without wavering our mind. What happens when we sit? Oh, I want to meditate today. I want to sit today and I am going to meditate. What will happen? The mind keeps jumping. Our mind is like a monkey, keeps jumping here and there, correct? So here, when the mind is concentrated, what happens? What happens? It just forgets the external world, right? You generally forget the external world. It's just into what you are concentrating on. So what we should understand, our mind has great power in a potential form. But why it is not happening? Because it's dissipated. The mind is always directed to so many other directions. No, it's just spread. So the mind thinks different things, one after another. So that is why an average mind cannot utilize the mind's power itself. If I give example, all as scientists, there is a difference between an ordinary light and a concentrated light. Yes, a concentrated light has very powerful, correct? It can actually, kill one, make a hole through your body itself if a concentrated light. Similarly, a concentrated mind has great power, so it has the power of heightened perception, the ability to see the underlying truth, or we can say like sixth sense. Yogis or great yogis have that power because their mind is so concentrated, not dissipated or distracted mind. Okay, so because of that, if one has that concentrated mind, the mind has the ability to achieve great things in life. Even the mind can do unimaginable amount of work too. Other thing, a concentrated mind is also a relaxed mind, very relaxed mind. If the mind is concentrated, the mind is relaxed too. How? Whenever, you become deeply engrossed in anything, what happens? You automatically become relaxed. You become calm because you forget about all the other things. There is no distraction in your mind. So if we say that if the work is done with a concentrated mind, what happens? The work will become enjoyable, correct? Because you're so engrossed in that work, you forget everything, that work becomes enjoyable. Also, it becomes very efficient too. So we can say that a concentrated mind can influence our character, our health, as well as the whole life. So concentration is very, very essential in daily life as well as spiritual practice. In the yogic practice, there are different types of dharana practices or concentration practices. So which finally leads to meditation or dhyana, we say. That is the next stage. The seventh stage of yoga is dhyana or meditation. So when the perfection of concentration happens, it leads to dhyana or meditation part. What happens during meditation? You're sitting and you're meditating on, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be an idol or a god. It could be anything. It could be a thought, or it could be a sound. It could be a color, or it could be anything, nature. Or if there is nothing coming in your mind, just simply listen to your breath. That is the best part of it. You can concentrate on anything. It doesn't have to be religious itself. Okay, it's a very universal thing. So when you concentrate on one thing during dhyana, what happens? You tend to forget ourselves. We forget ourselves. We completely into that one object. Or when you are reading something, some interesting novel, what happens? You just forget everything. You are completely into it. That is also a kind of, meditation. So when there is lot of mental disturbances, is it possible to do meditation? Is it? No, it's impossible, correct? So that is where the concentration practices help to move into this meditation. So no one can teach meditation. There are many classes, meditation practices, and it's basically all concentration practices where you can move into your meditation. No one can teach meditation, but there are concentration practices people can teach you, or you can practice where you can lead into your meditation practices, or where you get that nice concentrated mind which helps to move into your life. So then when the dhyana or the meditation becomes uninterrupted, then it leads to mental peace. You finally, you forget even the object too. There is something else. In the mind, you forget about yourself. Also, you will forget about the object what you were meditating on. Then what is there in the mind? Nothing. Shunya. Emptiness. That state is Samadhi, absolute peace. That state is Samadhi, or the absolute peace. No mental activities. There is no thought. There is nothing in the mind. Zero. Emptiness. So when we look at all these stages, 8 stages, it's not just physical or some breathing exercises or meditation practices. So we can say that, here Sage Patanjali maps out a complete system of yoga, which is so relevant for the modern day. Even if it is a 5%, 2%, if we can put in those Yama, Niyama, or asana practice, or pranayama practice, or pratyahara practice, dharana practice, then dhyana, then samadhi. I'm not talking about that. Till dharana itself is good enough, if we can put in. That itself is a good, practice to put in your life. It is not that just the body practice, or just the breathing practices, or just the meditation practices. It's the way of life. It's a complete way of life. So if we look at the 8 stages of yoga, we can see that the Yamas and Niyamas actually guide us on our social and personal ethics, whereas in Asana, Pranayama and Pratyahara basically works on a physical, physiological and psychological level. When we look at the dharana and dhyana, it actually helps to utilize the power of our mind. Then finally it leads to Samadhi, which is the absolute peace. So all 8 limbs can be practiced simultaneously, and when we practice 8 limbs together, what happens? We have that possibility to fully blossom, our human potential. So if we look at, for a common man, like a layman like us, it's very difficult to control the mind, difficult to sit and meditate. Imagine sitting in meditation. After some time, what will happen? Oh, my body is aching here. This part is aching here. Oh, I am feeling sleepy. Oh, I have to do this job. Oh, I have to cook this. Now I have to send my kids here. Something or the other keep coming. Okay. So before doing the meditation, it's so important to do the asana practice. Very, very important to do the body practice to get that steady mind and steady body. So do not just leave that asana practice just like that. Asana practice is the base for the rest of the things. So yama, niyama and asana are the base for the rest of the yoga practice. So far we were talking about practice, only practice, right? But he said in the means to achieve absolute peace, he didn't say just practice. He said detachment also, right? Correct? Practice and detachment. Now, what is this detachment? What do we need to detach from? So, according to Yoga Sutra, detachment is characterized by absence of desire in its all forms, which means it talks about detachment where one detaches from everything, including one's own body. Is it practically possible? No, it is not possible, We haven't reached that state to leave that part. So anyway, this is the final, stage in the yoga path according to Yoga Sutra. But the good thing is, anyone can practice detachment, but in different ways. In other words, we can say detachment is an attitude. It's an attitude in yourself. There will be love and compassion, but with a certain inner detachment. Not indifference, but with an inner detachment. If you get detached too much with your things or with your family, then it gives you pain. So you do your things with a certain inner detachment, not indifference. That's what we can practice detachment in our day-to-day activities or day-to-day life, So it is possible to attain detachment even when one undergoes all the responsibilities of family and society. You don't have to become one sadhu to give up some duties to detach. You don't have to. You can continue the way you live, but rather to completely give up our attraction and aversion. These are the things. I like this, I don't like this, so I will do according to that way. When that comes, then it will be difficult to practice detachment, So the practice of detachment starts from within. It doesn't matter what you wear or what kind of people you live with, People always judge with first look, depends on what the people wear, you start judging. That's not the right way to do, So it doesn't matter what you wear, You don't have to wear orange clothes, sadhu clothes to practice yoga. No need. Okay, you can be how you are. Okay, and wherever you live, whomever you are living with, continue doing that. What really matters is that what kind of attitude you have towards various things, people, events in life. That's what detachment, So how can we implement these detachment in the modern day, present day? Only thing what you need to understand is, from the moment we start trying to become aware of our own actions, we are in the realm of the practice. That is the first step. Okay, I am aware of this. You are aware of this. Okay, these are my strengths or these are my, negativity or whatever, which you need to develop or convert into strengths. Okay, limitations and strengths will be there. So understand that. So the moment you are in the start of awareness of your own actions, then you are in the start of detachment practices. Okay, so also once that happens, detachment comes automatically. You don't have to stop anything. Okay, I am practicing this, so I have to stop this. I have to stop eating this. I have to stop doing this. No, it's a wrong thinking. You continue doing whatever you are doing. You don't have to, stop with pressure. Then what will happen? Oh, I want to stop this sweet. I want to stop this. After few months, it will come back with full on. This is what happens. You forget everything. So don't suppress in it. Let it sublime automatically. Only thing, as long as you're aware what are the strengths and limitations, then you are in the start of that detachment practice. So when that detachment comes automatically to us, that is the true detachment. When the detachment happens automatically, that kind of detachment is true and enduring detachment. So let it happen automatically. Doesn't have to, okay, if you eat meat or fish or non-veg, it's okay. It doesn't matter. You eat. It's okay. Okay, you want to get pleasure, go. It's fine. But understand it where you are. Gradually, when you have that starting blooming inside you, okay, I want to stop it, but there are some, okay, you're leaning towards it, you go and come back. It will gradually move away. Automatically, it will come to you. So, of our own choice, never renounce anything. When detachment happens through right practice, that's very important, that practice should continue. Even if it is a simple asana practice, but not with ego, again. Not ego. Oh, you can do that? Then I have to do this. No, you don't have to. You do according to your body, according to your breath. That's it. There is no ego. There is no competition. That ego part should stay out of the mat. So whatever practice you do, through the right practice, if the detachment happens, that detachment is the right detachment. So let the detachment comes automatically in you. On our own, do not renounce anything. So according to Yoga Sutra, mind can be brought under control only through these two means, which are nothing but the practice, which we talked about, the 8 limbs of yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga, then detachment. So you practice, continue doing the practice, detachment will happen automatically. Automatically the detachment will come. Okay? So the first step towards detachment is to become more aware about ourselves. So study. Instead of looking at others, look at yourself. That's okay. Today onwards you will start doing it. Understand about yourself. What you are, how you are behaving, how you are talking, what kind of thoughts you have, all those things. Is the time up? Yeah, we're almost there. Okay. So the first step is to become aware. That awareness will come only through practice, even if it is a simple asana practice. If you are doing that asana practice with proper body and breath awareness, okay, that itself will help to increase your awareness. So to achieve a strong foundation in our practice, what we should remember, we must practice over a long time, without interruption, with faith, and with a certain inner detachment. Even if you're doing asana practice, don't think, oh, I have to get on to my head today. No need. It's okay. You practice. You want to do headstand? You practice. You remember tomorrow you're coming back on your mat. Not today. Correct? You will come back tomorrow again. You continue doing that. Continue falling. You fall and stand up. Learn to stand up from where you fall. It is not running away from whatever responsibility. It's the same thing. Okay? So continue your practice with a certain inner detachment. Then the detachment automatically comes. Then you will have a nice mental peace. Okay? Then I really want to say this quote from Bhagavad Gita. Then only it makes sense. Okay? In Bhagavad Gita it says that yoga is not possible for him who eats too much, nor for him who does not eat at all, nor for him who sleeps too much, nor for him who is always awake. What does it mean simply? It simply means that there has to be moderation. Very important part. One should follow moderation somewhere. A middle path, has to be followed. So I'll just leave you all with one statement. Whatever practice, one does, keep it moderation. Keep it moderation. Moderation is the key for success in your yoga journey. Whatever you do, keep it moderation. So that's all. Any questions I would like to take up? Don't hesitate, feel free to ask anything, even out of the talk if you have any doubt which you need to cover. Please
Thank
ask.
you, ma'am,
Thank you so
for
much.
very insightful talk. I think it's quite beautifully explained in detail every stages and how we can actually imply that into our own lives, how to correct and course correct our behavior, our attitude, and see how we can better our lives and better the lives of people around us, right? So now we are open to the audience for questions to come. We do have some questions, from audience online as well.
Oh, great.
But let's, take the questions from the audience here first. Anyone?
Either they understood everything or they didn't.
All right. While you're thinking, probably we'll address the first question from our online audience. Are yogic siddhis real? And therefore, are they attainable via yoga?
Of course it is. Siddhis are real and it is attainable too, but it takes a long journey to practice. Again, the same thing which applies. The practice has to constant and it has to continue for a long time, and you should practice with faith. That's very important. Again, you cannot practice because I want to achieve the siddhi. That's gone. Then what will happen? You're waiting, you are not achieving, and you'll get frustrated. Correct? So don't expect. You practice. That's it. Things will happen automatically. Siddhis will come. Definitely it will come. Again, once there are yogis who they had a downfall because of siddhis. Once they achieve siddhis, what happened? Ego comes up. When that ego comes up, then the downfall happens in the spiritual journey. There are yogis like Ravana. He was a great yogi, but he had the ego. That is why, he fell at the end. Yeah.
Anyone in the audience?
Hello. See, I've seen people who do their work itself, like they don't do yoga, walking, nothing. They do the work. He may be an artist, he may be a singer, or he may be a poet. They live it for 100 years, I've seen. Even a scientist. So,
Yes.
without doing anything, just enjoying the work, living for 100 years, how is it possible?
That's
So, what
because
sort
of
of
their
yoga
mind.
do you classify?
Because of their mind. Because their mind is not distracted. Their mind is very concentrated. They are one pointed in that part. So because of that, they have a very mental peace. So remember that the health problem comes from the mind. The moment mind is not, stable, health issue starts. In their case, their yoga is that. That is their yoga. So because of that, they live longer, they are calm, they are healthy in their life. Not much expectations also in their life. Because they enjoy doing it.
No, in other words, if you engage,
Ah.
so the longevity will be more and you will be more healthy, right?
It should be. But again, remember, as we grow old, body is not a permanent thing. In the spiritual or the yogic text, they say these are impermanent things. It will deteriorate. Our permanent thing is our individual soul. The soul is permanent. There is no change. Even if the body dies, our soul will take up another body and live. There is no change in that. But even great yogis, they had body issues towards the end when they die and all. But how did they deal with those times is what important. Because they never had that attachment to their body, so they were fine. Mentally they were in peace even if they were in pain physically.
No, big bodybuilders have not lived for long, but those who are lean, like Vishweshwaraya and all, they lived for 100 years. The only they did is they continuously did the work, that's all, till their last breath. So even they have maintained health as well as achieved success in their life.
That is okay, but how health you look at it is also a very important part. Is it only physically you are looking at the health wise, or you are looking at the mental part of it? That's very important. Just because you are muscles doesn't mean that you are fit. Correct? You don't need muscles to do, bulky muscles to do your day-to-day life activities. But you need a healthy body and healthy mind to, face the responsibilities or, handle the difficult situations. How you handle those difficult situations is what shows how healthy you are. So, I hope I've cleared the question for you. Okay. Yes.
Increasing and the souls are getting divided by one and the right side.
Okay. So for that, what question? I didn't get your question.
Soul is permanent and so many souls, new souls are coming up.
Yes, new souls are coming because of their karmas. They need to come back and clear all the karmas. If I haven't gone into that, complete union of Paramatma, so I haven't experienced, so it's very difficult for me to give that answer. But if the soul is coming back again, there is a purpose for it. Why that life is coming back? It doesn't have to be in a human form. It could be in any form. Okay. If it's coming back to life, there is a reason for it. There is a purpose why you are in that life. Okay. I hope I've given the answer. Everyone, we all have souls. Everyone has soul. Everyone. Yes. All have a soul. Depends on what actions you do in this life. Based on that, you take another life in the next birth. So, the human form is considered as the highest form. So, instead of, respecting and living that life properly, we forget to do that. Any other questions? Good, interesting questions are coming up.
I used to do yoga. I used to attend yoga class.
Okay.
Long back. And like last event will be the savasana. Okay. And I'll sleep. And I'll sleep in a way that so I will sleep in a way that like teacher has to come and
Wake you up.
Yeah, so was it good, bad or?
It's because, I don't know if you have heard of tamas, rajas and sattva. These are all qualities of the mind. When the mind is really tired, that means tamas is more in you. When that happens, you sleep, it's okay.
That used to be the end of that.
So that means you need to look into your activities, where you are spending your energy more. We said spend the energy wisely, so that you will have energy throughout, day and night. So use that energy wisely. So it's a good way to study yourself, where you are spending your energy more unnecessarily.
That used to be the end of the day. It used to be the evening.
Whatever it is, whether it's end or beginning, energy should be there. You will sleep when you need to sleep. There is a time to sleep. Correct? So you need to look into why, where you are going wrong, that you can look into your activities. It's a good sign. Any other question? How do one reduce sleep? Why you want to reduce sleep? Tell me that. Huh? You sleep if you want to sleep. Because your body is tired, you want to sleep. That is why you are sleeping. See, on an average, 6 to 8 hours of sleep is okay. It is perfectly fine. So it's fine. More than that, why you want to reduce? See, I will not agree with that. If you say I don't have time, it's up to you. If you want to make time, you will make time. It's your decision. It's not somebody else's hand. So I cannot say if you don't have time, okay, I will say, okay, fine, don't do it. That's all I can say. You have to take your time. If you want, you will definitely find time for anything. If you want to travel, if you have a journey to go, don't you get up on time? Of course you will get up on time. It's the same thing. It's how importance you give for that part. If you don't give importance to that part, then you will sleep. You will keep postponing things. It's the normal human nature. Yeah.
Any more questions? Ma'am, I just have one question. So I'm sure most of us do experience this on a day-to-day basis. So I used to binge eat a lot. I love sweets. I don't have sweet tooth, I have sweet teeth. So once I started practicing yoga, understanding what sort of diet we should have, once I got that body awareness, self-awareness, to say, if I eat these kind of food in certain quantity, this is the negative impact. It could be sluggishness, it could be acidity, it could be oversleeping. So these are some of the impacts of eating wrongly, having wrong habits, eating at wrong times. So that is when I realized, when I always get tempted to eat pizza, then I just take a step back and I think, do I really need to do this? Tomorrow I need to do extra, asanas, more time for practice to burn that additional unnecessary calories, building fat in your body, feeling sluggish, being dehydrated. So that is when I actually step back and think, maybe I should skip it or maybe have a small bite rather than having 3 or 4 slices. So do you think this is a sign of inner detachment?
Yes, of course, that you are aware of what is happening. That itself is a good sign. It is.
So you also mentioned it is a permanent detachment when it naturally happens. So I think I'm somewhere close to that phase where even though I see sweets sometimes or see, really delicious looking home baked chocolate cakes, I avoid it naturally.
Okay.
But it's not a permanent thing. I don't want to completely renounce it like you mentioned. But I do, it comes to me naturally saying that, okay, take a small bite, no harm. So do you think it's the right attitude or do you think, it should still go a long way where you don't really need those things in your life?
It is a starting point. It's a good sign. But if you really have that urge, have a bite. Sometimes body is asking for it. Sometimes your body needs it. So body is asking. That is why that strong urge comes. Take a small bite, it's fine. Then falling back, chances are always there to fall back. But if you continue with your practice, you can somewhere sustain it. Then you completely detach. Again, there is a on and off happens. You detach completely. Then again, after a few months, a few years, again you can fall back. There are chances. It all depends on your practice. If your practice is lacking in between, then there are chances for you to fall back.
One question, ma'am. I think most of us do think of this. Yes, we do have the intent of practicing yoga, but probably like one of the sirs were talking, they don't have time for it. So is there, some way we can moderately practice yoga? So would you say at least 3 days a week, if we give time to yoga, then at least it's a good starting point? Or would you say that, a good moderation practice is at least about, say, 5 days in a week? Because a lot of doctors do say, you should be doing exercise 5 days a week, but we don't have time for it. So if you say yoga has to be done in moderation, so is it okay to say at least we try and start off for, say, about 3 days a week to build in that, discipline and make time for it?
3 days a week is good. But again, don't look at, okay, I have to do 1 hour practice. You start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so that it will not be a burden on you. That's the way you build up gradually. Look for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or morning you're getting up. Immediately what do? Sit for some time. Just 2-3 minutes alone. Give some time. Give a thought for the day, what you are doing. Even work-wise, are you doing over? Moderation there also, very important. Work also. So somewhere there also you need to look into it. Sometimes pressure from manager. You have to put in a word from the beginning. So everything will settle down. So you show importance in your life, what is important. But that doesn't mean that you avoid your work. You do your work properly with complete concentration and mind. Put in your effort, not 50-50. When you're doing it, do completely, put in effort. But give that time, how much time you want to work. You need family time. It's very important to spend time with your family too. It's not that taking the work to, home and working again. It's not right. So somewhere in every activity, in your daily activity, you should be moderation. Similarly, even with you will find time for practice too there. So start with the minimal timing, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something, and morning when you get up, sit for 2 minutes. Before you sleep, sit for 2 minutes and think, how was the day? It's a good evaluation to think and go back and see what was the conversation with the people or what was the work, whatever it is, how you can work on it. It is okay, you don't have to be perfect in your things. Mistakes will happen, but how you can improve in the next. Not worrying about, what happened, this happened, now what will I do? Hey, happened is happened, just let go, now move on, Now find next, what can you do for that next thing? So you will find time. Minimum, yes, as she asked, 3 days a week is very good to start with, but don't look at that, I have to do 1 hour practice. You can start with, 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes. Gradually, you will enjoy that practice. You will find time. Okay. And again, there is a, Ayurveda says, you need to get up on this time and you need to sleep on this time. But in modern day, it's a bit difficult. I understand that. Sometimes the work hours itself is, I don't know in the institute how, but people who work in the different time zone, it's difficult. But again, I know there are people who practice yoga and working, still they manage everything. It's not that, I don't see people like that. They do manage. So if you really want to put in effort and manage, you can. You can. And start with 3 days or 2 days a week, that is also good. 2 to 3 days a week, start. With simple asana practice is good. Start with that asana practice. You think it's just a physical practice. No. It actually works wonders. That you realize over a period of time. There is a science behind it. I didn't talk about it, how the asana practice affects your nervous system and your brain. Why you feel after the practice, you feel calm. You feel nice. Correct? If you have experienced it, yoga practice. After the practice, you feel something. You feel light and calm. Why? There are so many studies going on that, so it's very important part. Just a body practice is very important. Okay.
Last question, anyone? Right. Thank you, audience. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Now,
you. So I'll just thank everyone to bear my talk and everything. And it's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for giving that opportunity. Thank you, Vasundhara, for
Pleasure, ma'am.
inviting me.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I would like to call upon the director of the institute, Professor Tarun Sauradeep, to do the honors. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. There is healthy snacks that is being served behind the building, behind the main building. So please do head there and we'll see you around soon. Thank you.